Our next speaker is Dawn Lastuka, and she's going to come and talk to us about her time with our little wee ones. She's been around little wee ones for, well, according to this, far too long. Wow. She has been a bus driver. She has been an ELA. She's done Roots of Empathy. She's been in early learning. All told, it's many years with little kids, and I don't know, they tire me out, so I don't know how she does it. But she's got a presentation to us of what it's like, because oftentimes ELL is sort of that mysterious part of the building that no one knows what really goes on in there. You don't have time to go in and check it out, and they're busy in there, and they don't come and see what you're doing either. So oftentimes we're kind of at a bit of a loss. And it's a lot more thoughtful and purposeful than you might think. So please welcome Dawn Lastuka to come give us some insight.
I think I have a few more years left in early learning. Okay, so my name is Dawn, and I love to play. And I have the best job in the whole school division, because I get to play every day. I play in the sand, I splash in the water, I play out the roll out the Play-Doh. I get to sing silly songs, I get to crawl around on the floor, and they actually pay me to do it. So who here has worked in an early learning program before? All right, have you had a child in an early learning program? Have you ever wanted to visit an early learning program? Yeah, okay. Well, some of us might even want to just peek in the classroom like he had mentioned earlier, just to see what all the commotion is about. All the laughing and rushing about, the crashing blocks, the racing cars. Or maybe you might be one of those that wants to run in the opposite direction. Early learning programs are not for everybody. And to really succeed in the early learning program, you have to be a child at heart, and you have to be able to see the world through a child's eyes. You have to explore your surroundings like a child, full of wonder. So that leaves me disguised, an adult disguised as a child. Are we ready? So we are all a lot about on the move, on the rush, going in all directions. Problem solving. If you can't figure it out, call your friends in. It would never be this quiet in our classroom. Shall I just carry on without? Okay. All right. So what you would not see in an early learning program is a bunch of desks all lined up with little attentive people just hanging on your every word. No way. If it's quiet in our classroom, we know that there's something going down, and it ain't good. So one time, we noticed there was far too many people missing from the classroom. So we noticed there was some whispering and stuff happening in the bathroom. So you don't just charge in there. You got to tiptoe up, and you got to sneak in and see what's going down. And here's 4 or 5 kids, and they got their heads over the sink, and they're all busy with their hands. It's like, what's happening down there? Well, somebody had dropped a marble down the drain. Nobody was pointing fingers. It wasn't he, it wasn't she, but it was like, I can get it out. I can get it out. No, let me try. I can get it out. So there again, problem solving at its finest. So do you ever wonder if all the activity in the early learning programs is actually necessary? Or maybe you're jealous that we get to play all day. I do believe that we hold the keys to the foundation of learning. The keys to unlocking the discovery and wonder of literacy and numeracy through play. In the early learning program, we're always on the move, engaging the children with an abundance of language and song. And of course, there's always some children that are more difficult to engage, but it's our job to make sure that they are all engaged. We all have extensive training in order to get this job done. And like I've always said, if I'm not having fun in the classroom, the kids aren't having fun, my colleagues are not having fun, so nobody's learning anything at all. If you ever came by our place to play, or to our house as we call it, you would see a very engaging environment because we have so many different levels of kids and interests that we try and pull them all in. So when they open the door in the morning and they see the classroom, we might have balloons or tents or something really messy that I might be mixing up in the bowl right at the doorway. You've got them right there. They want to come in, forget mom, forget dad. I want to see what's going to happen today with Mrs. Lastuka. Our entryway, you can see out the door as the parents are coming in. So we had a dad coming up the stairs with his son, and dad doesn't usually drop him off. And the entry was full of bums and their little ones, and they're, taking coats off and whatnot. And I saw this little guy come up the stairs with his dad, and they were laughing so hard. I said, oh, this is going to be a good story. Because they always come in and say, guess what, guess what? You know what, teacher? You know where we went? So he comes in, and I'm saying, what is so funny, buddy? And he's like, oh, my dad just farted. All the moms just kind of stayed like, oh my God, I'm not going to look. So we don't brush that aside, right? We got to feed into that. He's got to tell this story. So we're like, wow, was it a loud one or was it a stinky one? So there's always opportunity to build language skills. It doesn't have to be just from a storybook. It can come from anywhere. And this way, too, he not only engaged us with that statement, but he engaged every set of ears that was in that entryway that morning. So there would have been good slides for this next part. Our play in our classroom, it's all about discovery and wonder. It's about let me try, and hey, I can do this. It's simple, it's pure, it's hands-on, and there's multiple levels of learning that happen. It's the scaffolding where all our senses are involved, and in one word, it's magic. It's magic what happens. Our assistant in the classroom had brought in a box of apples for us to investigate. So we put them on the table, we put the knives out. Yes, it was knives. Kids can use knives. And they started digging, and sure enough, somebody found a worm in one of the apples. So for the kids who weren't involved in that activity, as soon as they heard the word worm, everybody wanted an apple. Got to carve that apart. So for them, they're looking for the worm. But for us to stand back and observe, there's two-handed coordination. They're using all of their senses. They're strengthening their finger grip. There's so many things that are happening just by messing with the apples. So there we are. We're counting. Got the fine motor happening. We got a lot of self-esteem happening. Also, with those kinds of things, they got the planning that has to go into taking it apart, putting it back together. What can we use it for? How many can I destroy? So for us giving them the tools, we just put it out there and they just go with it, wherever it's going to take them. We had a great clip here of our speech path. I had told the story earlier in our first session. We had brought in a bunch of cattails, and when Daryl comes, there's always lots of fun and problem solving happening, and he showed the kids how to open up a cattail. Well, we had mess and fuzz in our room for days. But that was good problem solving for the kids to how to clean it up. We ended up figuring out that lint rollers worked the best. And when they were done, they all wanted their own little sheet of the lint roller to take home and show mom just how much they had cleaned up at school. Yeah. We do a lot of things with real food. Too bad my slide isn't working. We have our potato farmers, we have our corn farmers, we have our sugar beet farmers. So we have all those items brought in. These things to the kids, they're real. We can sort, we can talk about where they grow, food from the garden, food from the store, food from the food bank. That opens a huge conversation with the kids. Also with the corn, we talked about the corn maze, who's been in the corn maze, let the kids husk the corn themselves. It's just great learning. And with our pumpkins too, like I had said earlier in the first session, it's not just about let's make a jack-o'-lantern, triangle eyes, circle nose, scary mouth. No, we chop them up, we carve them, we drop them, we take them outside, we send them down the slides, we just do whatever we can with them just to further the learning experience. So our classroom is all about being a controlled environment where the teacher doesn't really have to be involved, but we certainly put out there what they could expand on. And we really like to be in sensory overload in the early learning programs. So here we experience joy, and we develop concentration, and every day it's about engagement. How many kids can we engage? Well, we best be engaging all of them. So I would pose to you that have never been in an early learning program to make your reservation one day soon and come and play, because there's a lot of fun stuff that's going on. Thank you.